I do feel quite disappointed by the extent of Lilly's clickbait and by the quality of some of the videos. Look at this Hannah Montana t-shirt. I wasn't going to wear this, but that is phenomenal. You handsome? Oh, is this for me? Thank you. Very nice to meet you, sir. Love you. You're the bloody cat involved as well. You're handsome. We've just hit 20,000 subscribers, which I genuinely can't explain how thankful I am, how appreciative I am. And I figured a lot of you don't really know me or may not know me. It might be a good time to do a Q&A. So either drop a question down below in the comment section regarding something you want to know. Could be training related, could be personal, could be anything you want. Or go over to my Instagram, reply to my story, which is probably up for the next 24 hours. And in the next few weeks, I'll drop the 20k Q&A, which will also be paired with the legging haul. And then I'll release the program template in an upcoming video. I know what video I want to release it with, so I'll do that this month as well. So basically, a lot is happening this month for TFNL. Honestly, thank you so much for everything. I genuinely can't express how thankful and appreciative I am of your support. Before we crack on with the video, I must obviously put the piece of headwear on. And I figured this t-shirt would align really well with this hat, because I'm pretty sure in one of Hannah Montana's episodes, she wore a very similar hat. So here we are. Hey Siri, define iconic.
Relating to or of the nature of an icon. Would you like to hear the remaining one?
No, I know I'm enough. So now, the video. And we talked about someone who I was meant to cover a long time ago, but unfortunately just got pushed down the list because so many things did pop up, and that's Lilly Sabri. Lilly is a Gymshark athlete, and someone I have covered in videos here and there in the past, and someone who I may have made a mistake about. So when I did the Gymshark video, where I spoke about the tier list of Gymshark athletes, and I looked at Lilly, I put her quite high up. And that's because I only really spent time looking at her Instagram content, and I completely neglected to really delve into her YouTube, which is her dominant platform, which is a shame because a lot of the content I had seen on her Instagram previously had actually been quite good. Like the inclusion of doing row-based movements when targeting more of a home workout with a band is decent because the back is quite commonly neglected. Do I think that some of the movements are a bit unnecessarily overcomplicated and maybe more for show? Absolutely. Things like this, for example, I think are just a bit unnecessary. Same kind of applies here. Don't bother rocking forward and back. I don't think it's necessary. I just think it's more for show. A plank is boring to watch. Let's be honest, no one wants to see someone plank. So if you can add something to it to make it a bit more fancy, you may increase engagement, may appeal to more people, whatever it may be. But then you've got things like this, obviously, like it's essentially a V-sit hold variation with what we used to call like steering wheels back at school, where you're essentially steering the weight. Great movement for the abdominal region, in addition to being a pretty decent movement for the shoulders in the sense that you are going to be under a fair amount of tension for a fair amount of time. A V-sit hold or similar variation is hard enough at the best of times, let alone when your legs are bang out straight and you've got a weight there as well. Sometimes I actually question whether some of our older stuff is better than her more recent stuff. This, for example, I think is a pretty decent movement. It's a movement you don't really see being done, and this obviously back in September, this is nearly a year ago. And it's almost like since popularity has obviously increased and she's gone from 1 million to 3 million subscribers, it kind of makes you question whether the quality of her content has decreased, but the appeal of her content regarding like a visual perspective, how it looks, may have increased slightly. The main point of today is her YouTube channel. This is where I went wrong, and this is the area that I neglected to look at myself, and that's my fault, it's my mistake, and I'm going to rectify that now. She has a lot of subscribers, obviously. She's over 3 million subscribers, which is unbelievable, fantastic. But then you look at the running theme of her videos, and unfortunately they're very clickbaity, which I do have expressed before that I do understand clickbait for the sake of engagement, but sometimes I do question whether the clickbait's a bit too far. So for example, you've got get abs in 7 days, snatch waist in 10 days, very similar to the sort of workouts that Ting does produce, which again is someone I am going to cover in greater detail in the future. Then you flip around to the blatant display of misinformation through titles, lose back fat in 14 days. You can't spot reduce fat, and we know you can't spot reduce fat, but a lot of beginners do not know that. At the bottom of her videos in the description, she does have a disclaimer. How many people are actually going to go out of their way to look for that? A lot of people will see the title, the thumbnail, click on it, and hope to get the results that they're essentially being promised. If you do encourage false expectations, it can lead to a lot of disappointment when people don't achieve the results they were expecting to achieve. And nobody wants that. No one wants to feel disappointed with their workouts. No one wants to feel disappointed with their results. Because a lot of times we can blame ourselves and we can question whether, okay, maybe I didn't get results not because the workout has promised me something that is unachievable, but because I'm the problem. When in actual fact, no, you're not the problem. And then you look at some of the exercises. So for example, this is a back workout. When looking at the movement she's doing here, if I can demonstrate, realistically, the majority majority of tension and resistance is going through elbow extension, so the straightening of the arm, which very much works the triceps. Sure, there will be some tension in the back of you holding the band in place and pulling it apart, brings in some of the upper back, the rear delts and whatnot, but the majority of resistance will be going through the triceps because you're extending the elbow. A movement like this, I would say, is far more acceptable. So you're taking the back through a more active and resistance-based range of motion. The lats, the rhomboids, the rear delts, the biceps, etc., will actually have to work to pull that band up to you. So sure, all of these movements will involve the back to some degree, but perhaps not to the extent that's almost being implied throughout these workouts. I don't personally like doing unilateral movements to time, because if you're doing one arm at a time, for example, let's say you do a minute each side, but on the left side you get 12 reps, on the right side you get 13 reps, that then increases the likelihood of an imbalance forming over time. She does state in one of the exercises previously that the left arm is her weakest, but she starts on the right arm. If you do insist on doing unilateral movements to time, I would always say start on your weakest arm first rather than starting on your strongest arm first. Before we continue, I must interrupt you for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, time it, I'm guessing. If you haven't already, I would really appreciate if you did like the video. And if we could hit 300 likes, that would be bloody fantastic, bloody stupendous. Please do consider subscribing to the channel and clicking the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every Monday and Thursday. If you have a question you want me to answer at the end of the next video, drop it down below for comment question of the week and I shall do so. I think that might be a PB. I won't interrupt you any further. We'll crack on with the rest of the video. And obviously this is one of her more recent videos, which is her 3 million subscriber special, which is again fantastic for her that she's reached that number. I think bicycle crunches are fine. Again, when looking at direct ab work, I'm not a huge fan. I have, as I said before, prefer to do more like functional abdominal work. So things like pad off press and maybe dead bugs, things along those lines. But again, I do understand that these have a place and I do understand that people do enjoy them. Lifting the upper back off the mat a bit more brings the abdominals a bit more into it, whereas the majority of the leg movement is going to be more favouring of the hip flexors. There's nothing great or bad about this workout. It's just a basic home ab workout. Do I think this 7-day, 7-minute home workout is going to encourage you to lose belly fat? No, the loss of fat will come from caloric expenditure versus intake. So if you're in a calorie deficit, i.e. you're expending more calories than you consume, then you will lose fat over time. Where you lose the fat from is very much genetic. How much fat you lose is very much dependent on the extent of your deficit. Although this depends very much on the individual, so their weight, their goals, etc. A rough ballpark for many is to lose between half a pound and a pound a week. We're looking at achieving a slimmer waist and losing lower belly fat. So she just stated at the beginning this is a lower ab burner. You cannot target the upper and lower abs. It's also not a thing. First and foremost, you've obviously immediately won me over because I too feature a dog in my videos. Oh, look, it's lying down. It wants to get involved. That's so sweet. I love dogs. The movements are quite difficult. They're not easy movements to do. I do feel like a lot of Lilly's workouts are maybe targeting beginners more than anybody else, which is fine. These home workouts became very popular over the events of the last year and a half or so. It's great to see Lilly encouraging people to work out from home, and many people will have actually got into training due to what happened last year and this year, and these home workouts were probably many people's first step on their fitness journey, which is great. So for that reason, I do really appreciate what Lilly is doing regarding the encouragement of people into training and into fitness. Regardless of intentions, I do feel quite disappointed by the extent of Lilly's clickbait and by the quality of some of the videos. I've seen some fantastic stuff on Lilly's Instagram, especially when looking at some of her band work, a bit more dynamic and functional stuff, which I did cover in a workout video a few months ago. I've also seen some quite disappointing stuff, being some of her back movements that she selected and some of her other movements she selected, in addition to her clickbait and lack of informative content. Although I do understand not everyone wants informative content, not everyone wants to be educated, they just want to go through things. I do feel when the majority of your audience are probably beginners, it is really important to educate people and inform people. So you know what, this workout will do this because of this. No, you can't actually achieve this because of this. Set them up for success rather than potentially set them up for failure. At the end of the day, it's fantastic to get people more active, but you also have to remember is that when people don't know any better, they'll believe a lot of what they read, especially coming from people they may trust with such influential status. I think there needs to be an additional element of care when looking at what you're pushing out to your audience and what they may take from that. Lilly does also offer some free guides, and I have one of them in front of me here, which is her 3 million subscribers guide. So it's more of a structure saying on this day you will follow this, this and this, which is either live on the app or on YouTube. So it's essentially directing people to her different platforms in which they will get the workout there. Rather than being a training guide per se, it's more of a training split. It is nice that she's including a recipe in here, and it's also great to see she's accommodating for those who are following a plant-based diet. A bit more information wouldn't go amiss. Maybe chuck in a macronutrient breakdown or something. I do like how she's obviously including the how do you feel today, what have you done for yourself today, and one thing something you're grateful for today. That's nice. I appreciate that. Acknowledging what you have done for yourself and acknowledging your feelings, your emotions, and what you're grateful for can actually be quite beneficial when looking at mental health and mood in general. I think reminding yourself of some of the positives in the world can actually be really great. If people do want me to look at the Lean app in the future, I will gladly do so, but I chose not to include it in this video as I don't want this video to be excessively long, so I could certainly revisit it in the future and maybe do like a part 2 if that's something people would like to see. But that's it. That's my overview of Lilly. Some of the content I have seen on Instagram, especially some of the older content, has been great. It seems as her popularity has increased, the quality of her content may have decreased, unfortunately, and I do think the clickbait on the YouTube is just excessive and potentially quite damaging, giving people a false belief that they can achieve something that they actually just can't achieve. Again, that can very much lead to people blaming themselves and can actually lead to many people falling off the training wagon, or maybe developing somewhat of an unhealthy relationship with training due to disappointment in themselves when it is by no means their fault whatsoever. As with all my videos, these are merely my opinions and my thoughts. You don't have to agree with anything I've said, you may actually disagree with it, and that's absolutely fine. Just know that I do really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch and consume my content. But now, we must obviously crack on with comment question of the week. How do you go about correcting muscle imbalances? From a visual standpoint, like an aesthetic standpoint, imbalances regarding differences in size is less of a problem in most cases than imbalances regarding power output. Let's say your upper back, let's say the left side is a fair bit smaller than the right side, but you're able to shift the same amount of weight and muscular endurance is not compromised. That's less of a problem. But regarding correcting imbalances, there are a few things you can do. First of all, acknowledge that no one's going to be perfectly symmetrical. If we were, we'd all be competitive bodybuilders because one of the criteria that they're assessed on is their symmetry. But what you can do is work towards becoming as symmetrical as possible. When looking at unilateral based work, again, as stated earlier, always lead with the weakest arm and then finish with the strongest arm, matching reps. If you do 12 reps on your left arm and that's your weaker side, do 12 reps on your right, although the right will find it easier. Eventually it gives the left a bit of a chance to catch up, and it also means you have more energy when tackling the left side, the weaker side. If you really want, I know some people do this, it's not something I've done personally, but I know people have recommended this in the past, doing, let's say, a set of 10 on the left, a set of 10 on the right, and maybe a few extra reps on the weaker side just to catch it up. I'm unsure how I feel about that. I think pros and cons. As you're doing already, obviously tackling the problem areas at the start of the workouts as well. It's about gradually chipping away and understanding you're not going to correct every imbalance like that. What you can do is chip away at it week by week, and over time it will improve. Just remember, I'm not a physiotherapist, nor am I a doctor. I'm merely a qualified fitness professional, so don't take my word or my advice as gospel. I just hope that something I do say may help you. As I said at the start of the video, thank you so much for 20,000 subscribers. I genuinely can't thank you enough. And if you like these types of videos, let me know you like the video by dropping a like on the video. And if we get to 300 likes, that would be bloody splendid. Please do consider subscribing to the channel and maybe clicking the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every week, twice a week. And if you have a question you want me to answer at the end of the next video for comment question of the week, drop it down below in the comment section and I shall do so. I hope you enjoyed my cat, I hope you enjoyed my puppy, and I hope you enjoyed my t-shirt. Regardless, thank you for tolerating the video.